Hello, Kimberly. I am so thrilled you're with us today for the Shape Up Summit. And you're amazing, my friend. You are the creator, the founder, the visionary of Mask. And we want to learn more about what does Mask stand for? How did you get involved? How did this get dropped on you? And let's start. Go.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. And I've enjoyed your work and watching you grow and help just get children and schools and communities physically fit. It's so important. So thank you. And it's exciting to be part of this. Well, Mass started back in 2007. I was a stay-at-home mom, had a blended family of five, and I think, like, as a parent, you either parent how you were parented, or you kind of recognize some deficiencies and make those changes once you become a parent. For me, growing up, communication was not part of our household. We had life happen, and unfortunately, conversations weren't talked, weren't brought up. And so when I became a parent, that was very important for me to be able to talk with my kids, teach them through life, have them trust me with those conversations and such. And so when I became a parent, I recognized I probably didn't have the skill set. So I did parenting classes, communication classes, and really thought I was kind of on the ball of parenting for my kids. And so at the time, back in 2007, my oldest at the time was in sixth grade, and we had talked about stuff. And I was thinking to myself, like, gosh, he's starting middle school. I better start anteing up those conversations. And so one day in the car, we were talking, and I just brought up, a conversation of, bud, when I was your age, kids were talking about sex. Have you heard anything? And Jill, it literally stemmed an hour and a half in the car driving. I just remember just looking straight ahead and keep on driving, because he was bringing up things of, kids were smoking, sniffing Purell, sexual things, and he hadn't done anything. It was just the fact that this was his world that he was living in, and he was almost waiting. He was like waiting to tell me this stuff, but didn't, have the courage or anything to bring it up on his own. So bringing it up was kind of like a sense of release for him. And so I went to my other son, who was in fourth grade at the time, and asked him similar questions. And the language was so aggressive and the behaviors were aggressive. And we were in a good neighborhood, great families. I was an involved parent. And here I had the time and resources, and I didn't know anything. And so it kind of opened my eyes to this parenting world that I needed to learn. So I started researching and talking to counselors, psychologists, police departments, and opening up this world that I didn't know about. And so at the time, I started to reach out to other nonprofits, because as a parent, I wanted to be more informed. And I was surprised that at the time, they were very topic specific. So there were organizations just talking about bullying, just talking about drugs. And they really didn't start till junior high and high school talking about this stuff. And for me, I just learned that through all of these experts that, the behaviors start in elementary. All of these issues are interconnected, and they all need to be talked about, and they all need to be talked about age appropriately and ongoing. And so Mask was started from that car ride. And we just at that point aligned with experts in all the fields and developed programming from kindergarten through college, talking about all these things.
So your title of your talk today is Chatter Matters.
Yeah.
Tell us, what does that mean?
Well, I thought it was appropriate, based on our organization, communication is everything. As parents, we can be educated on everything out there, but if we do not know how to communicate that to our children, without being judgmental, without being fear-based, then all of that knowledge is useless. And so for me, Mask is built on communication. We strive to strengthen parent-child bonds through communication, through our the resources that we have, through our online programming, through Mask the magazine, which literally I do want to talk about one little top section within the magazine. All of our issues, it's a parenting quarterly publication, and each issue is honed in on a topic. And from cover to cover, we bring education and empowerment on how to address it and the signs and stuff to look for. And one of the sections in the magazine we call Making the Grade, and it is written by our board member, Dr. Shefali Gandhi, psychologist, who breaks down what that topic looks like for pre-K kids, kindergarten through sixth grade, so your elementary years, middle school, high school, and college. And within that section, it breaks down whatever that topic looks like, what the warning signs are. But the biggest thing is we give conversation starters. So for parents that communication isn't their strong suit, we actually give them the words to use to initiate that communication with their child. And then back to the resources.
Yeah.
We have the app as well, the Mask Matters app, which is for parents, students, teachers, and in Spanish. And obviously our website that is posted content daily.
So stepping back a minute, what does MASK stand for?
So MASK stands for Mother's Awareness on School-Age Kids.
Love it.
And we are a nonprofit as well.
Yes. Well, I've watched you grow like you watched me. We became friends a long time ago, and it's just been a blessing. And you've just done miracles with children and parents and communities, and I just love it. And what I love is we have so many synergies, as you mentioned, and you talk about, physical fitness is a part of that, but it's a piece of the puzzle. Can you share more?
So physical, like within our programming, food and fitness is definitely, the landscape to start young with, right? Because, our food and fitness, we're teaching early because we want to teach children and families how to model, good behavior with that. Because if not, that turns into one of our topics, which are eating disorders, which is, something that no family wants to go through.
Now, you mentioned when we first started that you're plant nutritious.
Yes.
And if you'll share how you got involved in that and how's your family's take on that and how does that work?
Well, I became vegan, like I said, it's been about 3.5 years ago. And I was already down that track of being gluten-free because of health issues, dairy-free because of stomach issues, and then watched What the Health, and it changed my life. And how I see food and cook and all of that. But again, like I think for a while I was only cooking vegan in my household, and but then I kind of had to step back and take a check, because even though that's my belief, I think as an individual they have to make that choice. And so now I cook vegan for myself, and my family does eat it sometimes. But then I also cook because I want them to, they still have to eat. But again, it's a decision that one has to make on their own.
Absolutely. And the trick is I always go back to planting that seed.
Yes.
You plant the seed and you have how you like your house. Other people are different. It was very fun with my kids growing up because everybody came to my house for my bread and my popcorn and my, all my fun things that I made. And they were just like, this is so good. Well, they knew no difference, and kids know no different.
Right, right,
And
right. I
so,
think that's a great opportunity. If you do have them young and they are at home, I think you can, because what they just, that becomes the normal. But the one left at home is a teenager, and it's just a little different. But you still can cook good. I bake like crazy, all vegan, chocolate chip cookies and all. So there's some things I will not go back to a certain way, but again, I think it becomes a self choice at
absolutely.
at the stage that I am as a parent.
And all about education, plant the seed and let them do their magic, you
Yeah,
know?
for sure.
So you mentioned about communication is important in relationships, but
Yeah.
why is it so important in parenting? Now, I know you've spoken a little bit about with your child in the car, and how do we take that to the next step?
So I think communication is it's one of those foundations, I believe, in parenting. So communication equals trust, right? And so you have to start young with them talking about stuff. I remember when I started Mask, my little one, well, not so little, the last one home, I changed how I parented her when she started. I remember being in pre-K, and we would lay in bed at night, and I would give her what would you do situations, right? So I'd be like, honey, like, what would you do if you were in a playground and one of your friends came by and kicked sand on your shoes, your brand new shoes that you got? What would you do? And so I started to give her those conversations and ideas to think about. So when she's in those situations, she's not surprised by them and knows how to respond to them. So back to communication, you have to be there for them. Whenever it is, whatever they want to talk about, it doesn't matter if you're tired, doesn't matter if you're in a bad mood. You always have to make yourself available for your kids when they want to talk, because they're going to remember, did they listen? Were they frustrated? Did they give me eye contact? Were they, not preoccupied by something else? So you have to be there in the easy stuff. So when the tough stuff comes, they know that they can trust you, with whatever they have to share.
It's so interesting you say that because I used to always share with my kids stories like that. So it's the old story that the man in the park is going to share his puppy. Come to my car and see my puppy. Well, that happened to us. And my daughter was on her bike with a friend, and we had discussed this whole story. And my kids are 8 years apart. So my son, I had to watch on the playground because he was very young, and my daughter was out riding her bike. And all of a sudden she comes riding with, her breath is all gone. And she says, Mommy, Mommy, he asked me about the puppy. And I said, what are you talking about? And she said, he's over there. He asked me about the puppy. But because we had that communication, and thank God my daughter was photographic memory, we
Mm.
called 911, and she knew the license plate, and she knew what the guy was wearing, and they caught him. But it was just, if she didn't know the story, like you were saying, she wouldn't have known what to do. She would have gone and seen the puppy.
Wow.
And so, very blessed and a miracle. And it's a good story because it's a great ending to share with people. But at the same time, you're absolutely right. You've got to listen when they want to talk, because they're not always open.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And one of the things that we were talking about also is like understanding your child's talk language, because it's all different. It's all different. Like I've had, and that takes, not just talking to learning about how they talk, it's watching them. And when they're comfortable to talk, I mean, all of my children have been different talkers. I've had talkers that are nighttime talkers, and I'd wait for them when they'd get home, and I'd be so tired and just wanted to go to bed. And he would just start talking, and I just made myself available. to listen. I had active talkers where one son of mine he played basketball, and I knew that you could recognize when something's not going right with your child. And I would just be like, hey, bud, let's go shoot some hoops. And I would go out and play basketball with him, and he was an active talker. So, understanding how your children are comfortable talking, some are in the car, just identifying that, and don't try to push the buttons when they don't want to talk. You need to wait for them in their comfort zone.
I agree. That's a great tip to all parents, and they can always contact you, right, Kimberly, for questions.
Absolutely.
You want to share your website one more time? We'll go through that again, and I know it'll be at the end.
Yeah, so the website is maskmatters.org. And I laugh because, dang, during COVID, we sure got a lot of advertising for our website. But so it's just maskmatters.org. There's tons of information on our website, tons of content posted daily. And also on our Facebook page, everything is Mask Matters is where you can find us.
Excellent. Now, speaking of masks, what is your 5-year rule? What does that mean?
So the Mask 5-year rule is something that we integrated from the very beginning of Mask. Was, there's so many topics to talk about your child about. And it's not about waiting till they're in junior high or high school to start talking about drugs. The 5-year rule, or on any type of topic, the 5-year rule is you start talking to your children 5 years on a topic before they are exposed to it. So, drugs today, I mean, literally, you can start talking in the womb with your kids today. I mean, it's out of control. But the idea is that, the first, let's say, sex talk with your kids, it's not when they're it's not when they're teens. The first sex talks are when they're little kids, and that's talking about body parts, different body parts, good touch, bad touch. Then it goes into relationships and such. The same thing with drugs. I mean, drugs today, they look like candy. So it's ever more important for parents to start talking early about what's healthy to put in your body, what's unhealthy, especially with prescriptions and over-the-counter drugs. We have an opportunity as parents to start those conversations early about when a kid has not feeling good. Oh, can I have some medicine? Well, let's think about it first. Have you had enough to drink? Have you had enough sleep? Like, you don't be so quick to give them a pill, because that's what society wants us to do. But as parents, we have a great opportunity to model healthy choices by our actions as parents.
That's terrific. Yeah, and let's go out for a walk together. Let's go for a bike ride, because immediately they're going to get the endorphins and feel better.
Right, right. Or sometimes it's rest, or maybe integrating mindfulness activities of maybe you just need quiet, maybe you're feeling stressed. So it's kind of like going down this checklist before there's just this immediate drug, right?
In my household growing up, kids, we always had nonstop going puzzles. They just were brought up with them. So all their friends, even as a teen, would come in and do the puzzle. But I would go walk in the room and find them there just as their quiet time. And we played a lot of board games. So we were chess. They learned that very early, and those were tools, also family, things that we could do together. So I love your ideas. That's great. I had another question. What is EQ and why is this important?
Okay, so for EQ is emotional intelligence, and that is something that actually we've built all of our programming around. And, a lot of times people don't understand that EQ is higher than one's IQ, and that's where we need to put more of our efforts and training and developing in our kids. EQ is all about emotional regulation and how people can take in and deal with their emotions, communicate effectively. It helps them overcome challenges because they can identify what they are feeling and what they need. And so it's so important today for children to be to build on it, to strengthen it, because it outlasts a lifetime, of dealing with emotions.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Now, do you have tools to do that?
So all of our programming has been built, like I said, with this EQ, and it's all integrated within our year-long curriculum that we have for schools, clubs, organizations, as well as for families at home. And what we've done is we have aligned, uh, you know, the EQ with the modern day challenges that children face. So we've connected them together with the outcomes of strengthening life skills for kids.
Very nice. Very nice. And you talk about always overall health, and this is one piece of that puzzle.
Oh, mental health is so important. I mean, and especially with today's, the world in which we live in today, with the technology piece of it. I mean, our kids are inundated 24/7. So what I love about Jill, what you guys are doing, it's taking the technology breaks to inspire overall health, which they need so much.
Yeah, they do. They need the whole person to because to me, I always say Einstein is insanity, doing the same thing over and over and getting the same results. And what we did in the schools for a long time, and we're still doing, is the nutrition piece and the exercise piece and the mindfulness piece, and possibly the financial, not so much in the youngers, but we need the program like we've done where it all comes together, so
Right.
that then they make the change, and so does the planet.
Yes, overall health. Overall.
Overall health. I can't wait to hear this one. What F word should everyone eliminate in their households? I read this, I was like, okay.
Fat.
Ah,
Fat. That is such a devastating word for children to hear. It's linked to eating disorders. The statistics today with kids wanting to lose weight earlier and earlier, and with social media, with all the filters and everything. I mean, kids today are seeing a false reality and trying to live up to that, which is devastating, devastating. And so the F word is not allowed in my house. Fat is never allowed. That should be actually taken out of the dictionary, because the lasting effects of that are devastating. And so, and more than just the F word, it's how we model. How we feel about ourselves to our children. If, as parents, we're constantly, not satisfied with ourselves, or saying, "Oh, I need to lose weight," or "This doesn't fit right," or "I need to exercise more." Not that exercising more is bad. It's how we say it. Actions are stronger than words, right? And our kids hear louder by what we do than what we say. But even what we say, we have to watch. And so we have to model healthy living through our actions, and really protect our children from the words in which we say and what the world says to them.
it's so interesting you say that. So my house is filled with mirrors, and people would think, God, but every mirror that my child would pass, look at that beautiful body. Aren't you an amazing, amazing child? Look at how smart you are. And then they'd start dancing like no one was watching because they didn't know any different.
Right.
And so every part we say, you got 5 fingers, how lucky are you? or you can see, or it doesn't matter. We just brought out that positive no matter what it was. And they would look in the mirror and they would say it to themselves.
That's powerful.
It's really powerful. It took me a long time to look in the mirror and say, I love you. That's a tough thing. I learned that a long time ago at one seminar, and I said, I'm going to start that, you know. And I started looking in the mirror. I said, well, okay, you know. But with kids, they'll know no difference. And if we start them so young, it's so fun to watch their self-esteem and their resilience, and they're powerful, being empowered by these words, but by themselves, doing it to themselves.
Words are powerful. And so, the world is going to, they're going to hear so many negative things. And even as parents, even not even understanding it, we say so many negative things to our kids. It could be, oh, your room is messy, or, oh, you didn't do that great on that test, or whatever, or, whatever it is, they're hearing so many negative things. And so we have to watch our words and not give false positives to our kid, because that could be an unhealthy thing too, but really just a balance of positive and reinforcing.
So true. So talking about resilience and the nonverbal and the verbal, if you could give us some ideas what to do to practice with our kids.
Resiliency. So resiliency can be, really happens when basic needs are met. So the basic needs need to be met first, but exposing our kids to many different things to help build that resiliency. So part of it is communication. So always having the time that, you talk with your kids and make time for it. I remember when I wanted to talk to my children about something pretty important, I would give them the power first. And so I would go to them and say, listen, I'd really like to talk to you. Would you like to do it before dinner or after dinner? So then they're equally invested in it, and they're not feeling like, oh, they can kind of prepare for it and feel like they have power. And it's also, modeling our own emotions, right? So part of, building resiliency in our children is actually modeling for them what that looks like. So if you're upset, and I didn't really model it great today, because I kind of got upset because our Wi-Fi was down and I was very stressed out. So I have to go and kind of talk to my family about that. But dealing with our emotions and being able to take a time. Like if I'm really upset with one of my children, and I'll tell them I don't feel comfortable to talk right now, because I want them to know that you don't go into conversations hot-headed, imbalanced with your feelings. You got to come from a balanced situation. So modeling that is so important. Another thing about building resiliency in your kids is um, validating their feelings and not discrediting what they're feeling. So if they're feeling stressed, it doesn't matter if it's because, I don't know, their hair's not great, or they didn't get a good thing on their test and they wanted to do better. Whatever it is, you have to validate what they're feeling, or you're not helping them build the resiliency that they need. Uh, Building resiliency is also the coping skills, helping develop coping skills for them to deal with whatever situation that they're going to be put in front of, coping skills to deal with their emotions. If they are stressed, what can they do? Is it going on a walk? Is it, exercise, mindfulness, taking a bath, helping broaden their scope on what they can do to help themselves. And don't feel like they're not listening either. The more that you share with them, they might roll their eyes or whatever the situation, but they're listening and they'll figure out what makes sense for them. helping them identify volunteering places that they can go. That not only helps build empathy, it also helps build self-esteem, because there's no greater thing than helping somebody, and the gift that you give yourself when you do it, even though that's not the intention. That's the beauty of giving. So those are just, kind of a few things to, help set your kids up for success.
I love it. We used to in my family. It's great. We'd call it life lessons. And every time I'd start something, Mom, is this a life lesson? I said, I'd listen. But the fun part is, because my kids are now grown, I see bits and pieces of myself of what I've done. We always used to say, when like you had a day like today, and I'd say, well, you're an angel in a human body, give yourself a break. And so now my kids, my daughter especially, say, Mom, you're an angel in a human body, you're okay. And I'm like, oh, I did that.
Goodness, I had like 3 Zoom meetings today, and right in the beginning of my first one, the internet went out. And I was like, oh, the stress level. I needed to tap into my coping skills. But, and I think it's also a great opportunity to show your kids you're not perfect,
Yeah.
and that you do mess up, and it's okay, that you recognize it, and you make changes. So teachable moments can happen for parents too.
Now, do you meditate yourself?
I I don't so much meditate. I've recently just started. I lost my grandmother in December, which has taken a hard hit for me,
I'm so
and
sorry.
yeah, it's been a tough one. And so lately I have been grieving through my Peloton miles. And so that's kind of what's worked for me. I do take a mask minute, is what I call it.
What does
Every
that mean?
So it's mindfulness in a minute form, because I think a lot of times people think that, it's a whole production to be mindful. And it's not. Mindfulness can happen moment by moment. And sometimes you just need to take a minute to decompress, take a breath, do your breathing exercises, and then resurface back. I needed to take a mask minute today, and I missed it. So, but that's okay. That's okay. So it's just, there's different things, different strokes for different folks, but it's having them all, and depending on what you need at that moment, what feels right, do you need a moment, or do you need a mile, in my case.
Right. And it's so interesting because we all have stories. And when I teach the teachers, I say, so do the kids. And they have a story that we have no clue about.
Right.
And it's so important. What I love most when you're talking is to listen, but mainly to acknowledge what they're saying, because even at my age, I love to be heard.
Yeah.
We like to be heard, and children like to be heard, and be acknowledged for that message. And to me, that's huge. And one of our favorite one of my favorite modules that we teach is the power of the word.
Mhm.
And how it helps and how it can hurt. And that's what you are talking all about.
Absolutely. I mean, I think the best thing that one of the best statements that we can give our children is, I hear you.
Yeah, I like that.
I hear
It
you.
does take the edge off. Even when you just said it, I went, oh,
I hear you,
yeah,
That is validation. I believe that shows respect, because our children deserve our respect. Every human does, but especially our children. And because if they feel respected, gosh, anything's possible. Anything's possible for them.
And I also love to teach, which you're very much believe in, is that every child has a gift, and their gift may not be like somebody else's gift. But let's really come to that and hone in on what is your gift and how can we best bring it out. You want to share anything about that?
Yeah, I mean, I have a personal story as well as we actually, one of our issues we did was a spirit issue, and it was talking about igniting the flame within your child. Because everybody has a gift, multiple gifts, and the goal is, I think, in life is to align that gift with creating a living, because then work doesn't feel like work, which that's the dream, right? So, um, but I'll never forget my son. One of my sons. He was a basketball player, and his senior year, we were going through all of the, getting ready for college. He had a college recruiting him for basketball. And I remember in the middle of it, he was like, I think I want to do music. And I was like, what? Like, you've done no music. There's no music in your life. You've been playing basketball since you were in kindergarten. And I remember him telling me that music was his therapy. And so as a parent, it wasn't easy, but I listened to him, and it was in him, like it was in him. And he didn't go to college, and he's been on this track of a recording artist. And so
Wow.
um, I think it's like one of those things. Our dreams are not our child's dreams, and never should we impose that on them or make them feel guilty because they didn't reach that. It's our job as parents to raise humans, adult humans, to go on in their life, and they have to live their own life. And as parents, it's our job to support that, and listen. I had to get out of the way and let him do his life. So,
I love that story because you did everything that Mask is all about. You stepped aside and you let him live his dream, but you listened to what he said was important,
yeah,
and you removed yourself.
it's relationships, right? So, parenting is a relationship with your child. That's what it is. You're not a dictator. Um, you are supposed to teach them, love them, and guide them through life. And so life is messy. And so, at Mask, we are trying to show you the messes ahead, but what you can do to help clean them up and get them back on track. And so that's what we strive to do for families. Do the heavy lifting of the education out there, be the resource for families through their phone, through programming, through the publication. We want to do the heavy lifting and just be the resource to get you that information or get you to where you need to get to help your family.
Very good. Now, do you have any last stories that you'd like to share or any last tools in our toolbox?
Gosh, I think it's just show up. I mean, we have 18 summers to really teach our children what they need to know and what tools they need in their toolbox to go on to life. Parenting does not have an expiration date, but it does change. You have those 18 summers to really kind of shape them, to shape them for life. And then
No
they,
pun intended.
oh, I kind of put that there for you.
Thank you so much.
On the cusp. But really, that's what it is. And so do it with intention. Use their mistakes as teachable moments, because what a gift that you can guide them through that mistake to the other side while they're under your roof. And, just love them, and it's a beautiful thing. Parenting is a beautiful thing.
It is. Well, you are a beautiful thing. And I am so grateful for what you've created in this world. And again, your story, sharing it and answering all these wonderful questions. And we look forward to questioning answers soon.
Oh, well, thank you again. And again, check out maskmatters.org. You can download the app on Apple and Google Play. It's Mask Matters app. It's free. And again, it's for parents, teachers, students, and in Spanish. And you can subscribe to the quarterly magazine and have parenting solutions delivered to you.
Yeah, your magazine's amazing. You have just honed into all these wonderful things, and what a gift you are to the
Oh,
world.
thank you. Back at you, Jill. Thank you for what you do.
Thanks.